Hello everyone. So we are back with the next session on anger management. In anger management, in the last session, we started discussing about that the best way to control the anger, to manage the anger, is separate the people from the problem. It is very difficult to do that, but yes, if you are going to separate the people from the problem, it is really going to make them calm down and cool down. Whether it is the workplace or it is your personal life, it is very important to control your anger. Until and unless you do not know how to control your anger, you do not control your anger, in life you will find that people around you, the person who always get angry, the person who is always shouting, people do not like to be around such a person. That is why the another way to solve the anger is separate the people from the problem. And there is the first way of separating the people from the problem is using objective versus subjective language. Objective is a busy word, and that is the fact. Objective is an adjective, meaning not based on or influenced by personal feeling or emotion, but hard factual evidence. Okay, let me just explain you this objective in a very simple way. That objective is something we do which do not carry a sense of personal feeling, emotions, and it is completely based on the factual evidences, the hardcore fact which the people see around them. They just say that within their language. So it is the hardcore fact which the people say, and yes, this is one of the reason of making the people angry. You might have come across many people, seeing them, people are talking to that people. You might have seen that they straightforward say the things. They do not feel those emotions, they do not have those feelings, saying that this may hurt the emotion of other person, the other person might get hurt. They doesn't see that thing. For them, what matters is spitting out the things immediately on the spot without giving it a second thought how the other person is going to feel. And that is the use of objective language, which is completely based on the hardcore feelings, the factual evidences, the true facts only. It is not based or influenced on any kind of emotions which the other person feels. So here it becomes really very important that you start working on this objective language. Now, on the other hand, the subjective, on the other hand, has feelings. Subjective is an adjective meaning based on or influenced by personal feeling and emotion. We have some personal feeling, we have some personal touch when we are using the subjective language. Just think, congratulations for winning the election. It's so casual, any random person can say. There are no feelings shown. It's just okay, there's the formality part, or the person just came in front of you and he just simply wished you, oh, lucky guy, congratulations on your success. So here we are trying to give it a personal touch by using the word lucky guy, lucky person. Congratulations on winning. Let's say a person whose idea worked, who has been recognized in the organization during the cultural event, and he just came down and he's been promoted. Now one person is simply saying, okay, hello Mr. Weber, congratulations for your success. And on the other hand, this is the objective language which you are using. And on the other hand, hey, Weber, Come on. Awesome, man. You just rocked it. Congratulations for the promotion you have got. You really deserve that promotion. So here what we are doing, we are not just doing a formality. We are not just telling them the thing. We are actually expressing our feeling, the joy which we have got. Sorry, the joy which we have got because of the achievement of friend, my colleague made. So, whenever we add that personal touch, that is known as the subjective language. And now when you want to address the anger, when you want to separate the people from the problem, you have to use the subjective language rather than using the objective language. It is very important to give a personal touch. Whenever you will feel a personal touch is coming from other person, many times the anger will be solved at that point only. The problem will be solved immediately when you feel that yes, my problems are considered. One way of addressing the problem is, let's say a person just he went out for a party and he just lost his car. One person just comes and say, I got to know you lost your car. So sad. Did you file the complaint? That's it. Done. Conversation over. It is an objective touch. There's no personal thing. Second person comes and say that I'm really very sorry. I got to know that you have lost your car last night. How that happened? Okay, have you filed the complaint for the same? So if you need any help, just let me know. So here you are trying to be more personal. You are trying to give that personal touch to the person. And when we give personal touch to the person, it brings the people close to each other. And that is why I would say that it is very important to have that personal touch. Now, if you can see the example, there are two examples which I have used. That one is the objective and second is the subjective. Donald Trump won the 2016 US presidential election. This is being objective, straightforward, the actual fact which you got to know and you have just spoken that. Donald Trump was lucky to win the 2016 US presidential election. So we have just used an extra word, that is lucky, but it has changed the objective language to subjective language. So this is the one of the way, that is using the subjective language rather than using the objective language when you want to separate the people from the problem. Next is identify the problem. Very important thing is to identify the problem. Without identifying the problem, can you solve the problem? Definitely not. So in today's session, we will be discussing in detail about how to identify the problem, because until and unless you do not know what is the problem, you cannot separate the people from the problem. Let's say the conflict is there between two individuals, and due to that, the team is unable to work properly. So what is the problem? The problem is those two individuals. So the solution may be you might give them separate work. You ask them to do the work separately, or you might segregate them. You might shift them to different departments. So how you got to know that? How you took that action? Just by identifying the problem. Same way, when we are talking about separating the people from the problem, it is very important to identify the problem first. Now, basically, there are 6 different steps which we are going to discuss one by one to identify the problem. The first step is, don't be fooled by a large amount of data. You get a lot of data. Some people say something, you observe something else. The people who are into the problem, they are sharing the problem from their own viewpoint. You're just getting the gossips from all around, and you have a bag full of data related to that problem. No. Problems are often more complex with many contributing factors. You have to understand that problems are complex and there are many different factors which are contributing to the problem. The problem never arises because of one factor or because of one reason. There are a lot of factors, lot of small things which just combine together and create a problem. You might think that if you will get abundant of data, if you will get lot of data, it is going to help you find the ultimate solution and predict the behavior. But data is only helpful if you can take the time to make sense of it. If you just do not take out the time to segregate the data differently, to just create a difference in the data, that okay, this data is useful, this data is not useful, the scrutiny of the data, until and unless you do not do the scrutiny of the data is not going to be of any help, it is not going to be of any use. So to find the good solution, to find the lasting solution, it is very important to allocate as much or more time to analyze the data as collected. And believe me, many leaders are good in collecting the data, but they fail to take into the account. They collect these data, they store the data, but they are unable to do the scrutiny of the data and find the real reason, the actual problem which has arisen in the team. So do not be fooled by large amount of data, which most of the people do. So the first step of identifying is do not be fooled by the large amount of data. The large amount of data doesn't mean the problem is very big. There can be still small problem. You just have to scrutiny. You just have to filter the data which is related to the problem and which is not related. Second thing, what you have to do is drive below the surface. What is the meaning of dive below the surface? To understand the system that underlines the problem. Events are very easy to see and easy to explore. Problems can be seen very easily, you can explore the problem very easily, but they are the above the surface. And what is happening below the surface? What is the root of the problem? What is the cause of the problem? That is not clear until and unless you do not dive below the surface. You do not go in depth of the problem. You cannot be sure about the reason, the cause of the problem. You have to use the systematic approach, the systematic structure, your mental ability, your mental models, all these things you have to do, and then only you can find the real root of the problem, the real cause of the problem. The third step, the third way of identifying the problem is widen your focus. You have to use the concept of multiple perspective, which is very important when dealing with the people too. The problem cannot be from one person. Until and unless both the parties, two or more parties, are not involved in any kind of discussion, problem cannot arise. So you have to use the concept of multiple perspective, which is very important when you're dealing with the people also. If you just focus on solving the problem of one group, it is going to lead to resistance from other stakeholders. Obviously, if the people will see that you are just focusing and solving the problem of only one person, you are just focusing on getting the solution to the problem of one person, the other parties who are into the problem, the other parties who are the part of the problem, they'll be feeling resistant, they'll be feeling neglected, that why you are not considering their problem, while you are not looking towards a problem. So instead of that, plan an integrated approach that takes the roles and goals of all key people involved in the complex problem into consideration. When trying to focus on the problem, you have to widen your focus. Widen your focus means you have to consider the points, the views, the problems, the goals, the roles, what the people expectation of all the parties, all the people who are the part of that problem, who have the problem. Because if you really want to find the solution to the problem, it is very important to come up with the integrated approach of solving the problem, rather than going with the just going with just one person, one group of people, and solve their problem. This is not the solution to the problem until and unless the problem of all the related parties is not solved. So the concept of multiple perspective is very, very important when you're dealing with the people, and you have to make sure that you are widening your focus. You are just expanding your focus. You are keeping a close watch on each and everything. You are using your listening skills. You are using your communication skills to identify the problem, to understand the people, to understand their views, to understand their goal and what they expect, what is their expected solution for this specific problem. Let's say the managers, let's say the workers are having problem with the organization. You cannot just look into the matter of the organization, that what organization want. You also have to consider what are the goals and roles and consideration of the workers also. Until and unless you do not listen to both the parties involved in the problem, you cannot give them the right solution. So that is why we say that once you have collected the amount, the data, once you have understood the underlying problem, you just have to widen your focus of getting more in-depth knowledge about the problem. The next thing is define the boundaries of the problem. Once you have gathered all the data, you have considered the stakeholders, the next important step is to exclude all the factors that are not directly related to the problem. You know, people will say each and everything. When you are collecting the data, you'll be talking to the people who have the problem. You'll be talking to the other people who are around them, who have seen the people into the problem. So when you are just collecting all the data from around the people, it is important that you set the boundaries around the problem. You set those boundaries which says that you exclude all the factors, all the things that are not directly related to the problem. Because your only aim, your main focus is on the cause and its key drivers that affect the problem. So it is very important to define these boundaries. These boundaries should be sufficiently open to include all the relevant cause-effect relationship. See, I'm only telling you to eliminate those things which are not directly related to the problem, but you need to make sure that you are including all the relevant cause-effect relationship, the information which is directly related to the problem, and you do not lose the focus on the problem. So use these boundaries to create a new clear description of the problem you are solving. So see how the problem looks like and what exactly the problem is. You have to just frame the entire problem. So using this define the boundaries of the problem, you are just trying to describe the problem more clearly so that you can come up with the more effective and the better ways of solving the problem. So clear description of the problem you are solving is very important. Identify cause, effect, and key stakeholders. The second last step of identifying the problem is identify cause, effect, and key stakeholders. Within these boundaries, it's time to focus on the cause and potential solution. Now it's a time for you to focus on the cause of the problem, and along with that the potential solution, that what can be the best solution to solve the problem. What are the root causes of the problem and what are the possible effect of those causes? What are the potential problems? What are the effect of those solutions? Who are the key stakeholders who stand to benefit for a change in the system? How can they be the part of the solution? You have to keep in mind each and every single effect that can be the result of multiple causes, and a single cause can have multiple effect on the system. So you have to find out those things. You have to find out that who is going to support your views, who is going to stand by them, how the organization is going to be benefit, how the parties involved in the problem are going to be benefit. So all these things you have to find, because a single effect can be the result of many causes. With the effect is single, but there can be lot of causes, there can be lot of reasons for that effect, and there can be a single cause for the multiple effect on the system as well. So now once you identify the cause, effect, and the key stakeholders, the last step of identifying the problem is analyze future developments. Once the root of the problem is well understood, start analyzing the future part. Make forecasts based on the past and the current trends and the patterns of how the problem might also evolve in the future, and what are the future paths you are going to take to solve the problem, how you are going to affect each and every part. So basically what you are doing is you are preparing the strategy which you are going to use to separate the people from the problem. Because in the organization survives better, move towards success when you are futuristic, you are already ready with the strategies to solve the common problems arising in the organization. So these are few of the ways which you have to adopt to identify the problem. So basically, first thing what we studied how to separate people from the problem is use of subjective language rather than using the objective language. Try to give it more personal feeling when you are communicating with other person, because when you are giving those personal feelings, it brings you close to other people, it brings you close, it creates a bond and an attachment between the two people. And the second way is you have to identify the problem first. You cannot separate the people from the problem until and unless you do not identify what the problem is all about. So you have to first identify the problem, and for identifying the problem you have to go through these 6 different steps. That is, do not be fooled by the large amount of information which most of the people do. Whatever information they have gathered, they just create their own mindset without scrutinizing, without finding the real context of the data which is related. So they do not do that thing. So here, do not be fooled by that. Dive below the surface. Try to find out the root of the problem. Just do not try to see the surface. On top, what problem is seen. Top problem can be very small, and that can be effect of the root of the problem. So you may see, oh, these are the normal problems, but no, these are the normal problems which are coming because in depth, the root, there is a root of the problem which is focusing them to develop those things. So do not be driven by a bit, drive below the surface. Be, do not just see the problem which are on top. Widen your focus, define the boundaries of the problem, identify the cause, effect, and the key stakeholders. And last thing is analyze the future development. These are the points which you have to keep in mind when you are solving the problem, when you are identifying the problem. Now, once you have identified the problem, the next step is the ways by which you are going to resolve the problem. So basically, there are 5 different ways by which you are going to resolve the problem. The first way is identify the underlying issue between the employees. Identify those issues which are there between the employees. You know, there might be some issues, some problems which are there between the employees, right? So you just have to identify those issues which lies between the employees. Second is provide training. Focus on providing the training to the employees. You need to focus on that. Maintain open communication. Now, the best way to resolve the problem is when you support open communication. Now, what happens in open communication? When we are supporting open communication, people can freely come up with their suggestions, with the problems which they are facing, and it becomes very easy to solve the problem. Some problems, you know, they are very small and they can be solved if the organization promote open culture. So with open culture, what happens? They easily talk to each other, they discuss their problem amongst themselves. They even do not require a third party for the assistance. So, you know, in open communication, what happens? People communicate with each other very freely, and for most of the problems, small problems, they do not need support from anyone. You know, they simply talk to each other and they resolve the problem between them, among themselves only. The next thing is, it is going to improve the teamwork. Now, when you are uh, you are working in the environment where there is no problem, where you do not support problems, people easily communicate, they solve the problem, don't you think your teamwork is going to improve? Because the team which survives and which know how to solve the problems internally, that is the team which can always deliver the productive and the effective results. So when you will know how to resolve the problem and you'll provide them the training, you're going to maintain the open communication, and you will immediately underline the issues between the employees. So it becomes very easy to make your team grow towards success, to make your team actual team which is working together, not as a group of individuals who are working for the individual goal. It is the group of team which is working together collectively for the common goal. So yes, if we just use these ways, it is definitely going to improve the teamwork. And the last thing is, know when to step in. Being a leader, being a manager, you should always keep a close watch. You should not interfere, you should not speak up every time, but Being a leader, being a manager, you should always keep a close watch on what the team members are doing, so that you know when you need to step into the problem. If you think that the problem is arising a lot, it is getting increased, so you should know that yes, now it's the time for me to step into the problem and to solve the problem. So you must know all these things when you are in the position of a leader. So see, this way you are going to separate the people from the problem. And you know, when you separate the people from the problem, you are having the best working environment for yourself. So now this is the second way, that is problem identification and resolving the problem. The third way is using I message instead of you. Using an I message can help you state your concern, feelings, and need in a manner that is easier for the listener to hear and understand. You know, if you say you, it looks like you are blaming other person. But if you are using I message, it shows that you are just stating your own concern, your own feeling, your own need in such a manner that the other person is okay to listen to that. He is ready to listen and to hear and understand what you're trying to say. And that is the effect of using the I message. So focus on using the I message rather than using the you message. You statement. An I statement focus on your feeling and experience. It do not focus on what other person did. Rather, it focus on your own feeling and your own experience, that what you are experiencing, what you are expecting, what you want from other person. So you do not attack, criticize, or blame others. What you do, you are not criticizing, blaming, or attacking the other person. So for you, it is very important that whenever you want to address your problem, whenever you want to share your problem, you just focus on using the I statement rather than using a blaming sound. You know, when you use your you statement, so it shows that you are blaming other person, you are criticizing other person, and you are into the attack mode. But when you're using I message, it doesn't show that thing. It shows that you are politely trying to make other person understand the problem. I message help create more opportunities for the solution of the conflict by creating more opportunities for a constructive dialogue. So what I statement do, it creates more opportunities. It gives you more opportunities to resolve the problem rather than creating a big havoc or big problem from that. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session of anger management. Now we'll start the last session of the day, that is the motivation, where we were discussing the different theories of motivation. Any doubt in this session or any doubt related to any of the previous topics which you have discussed in anger management, you can definitely get back to me whenever we have the next session of anger management. So with this, we have come to the end of the session. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day.